This segment, I'm going to explore the meaning of the term price elasticity of demand, which I will often simply refer to as elasticity. And so the first thing that must need to happen then is to be clear on the meaning of this word, just an intuitive understanding of this word elastic, or to be elastic, when something is elastic. Typically, I think most of the time when we hear this word, we think about our socks or our underwear, right? Because that's where elastic is as a noun, as an item in our lives, is the elastic at the top of our socks. Usually in face-to-face classes, I don't bring any extra socks to class, but my office is attached to our closet where our washer and dryer are. So now I have today a visual aid of one of my socks. This part of my sock is elastic, right? And how do I know this? Because when I do something to it, it does something back. It responds, it flexes. It doesn't fight back. It does something, though. Whereas something like this marker doesn't do anything when I pull on it with the equal force. So this is inelastic. It's not responsive. This is elastic. It responds. And if you can really internalize that meaning, you'll find it helpful as we go, because when we're talking about the price elasticity of demand, we're talking about how responsive the consumers are to changes in price. It's a reaction, just like it is at the top of our socks. When we apply force to the top of our socks, we get a reaction. So now we step to math. Symbols. Don't let them scare you. They just translate to words like a foreign language. One language translates to another. So I'm using E to abbreviate this thing we're talking about, the price elasticity of demand, or generally we call it elasticity. That's why I just have an E there. This we all know is percent. Triangles we use for change. And it's just an abbreviation. That's all it is. So right there I have percent change, and I have Q sub D for quantity demanded. And then now I'm going to skip down here for just a second. We're comfortable, I think, with the demand curve. So this is all where price is up here and our quantities down here. And what demand was always telling us, if we refresh our memories, it's the various quantities that are demanded at various prices. So if the price is this is how much people would buy. If the price was this, they would buy this much. So that's what our demand curve was always telling us. And back up here, what we're saying is the percent change in that quantity due to, all this line means for right now is due to some percent change in price. So in percentage terms, if the price goes up a lot, what this is telling us is how much does quantity fall? A little or a lot. Except instead of just being expressed as a little or a lot, it's going to be the percent change in the quantity demanded given some percent change in price. It's expressed as a fraction. Fractions, I used to teach high school math. I know fractions scare people. Oh my goodness, they get all shaky in the knees when they see fractions, especially if we're going to be taking them in terms of a quotient, a division problem. But fractions aren't really so bad because they kind of have a lot of meaning. You can apply them in a lot of ways. Here, instead of thinking of this being divided by this, which it is, we could think of it as this thing given that this is happening. So the percent change in the quantity demanded given that there's a percent change in price. So if the price, easy way to think of it is the doom and gloom negative way as a consumer, right? If the percent changes, if the price rises some percentage, by what percentage does the quantity that people are willing and able to buy fall? That's what this is all about. And when we calculate that, which we'll get to, we have a key for what it means. We can put these outcomes that we can find in one of three buckets. If the price elasticity that we get is something, this quotient or this value comes out to be some number lower than 1, we call it inelastic. If it comes out to be just exactly equal to 1, we call it unit elastic, as in 1 unit, a unit per unit. If the elasticity that we calculate comes out to be greater than 1, we call that elastic. So that's unresponsive, like the marker was. It doesn't the consumers aren't going to change their quantity that they purchase very much if it's inelastic, if they're not responsive. Ignore that for now. Very responsive. They do react quite a bit if the price changes. Let that sink in. We're interested to know how much of a reaction there is. You know, how responsive are the consumers to price changes? Not a lot, like pulling on the marker, it doesn't react very much, inelastic. To a lot, elastic, meaning they decrease their quantity they would purchase a lot given some smaller percent change in price. So this is what we're working toward from here. This is the aerial view of what we're doing. But I'm going to stop this little segment of video because I need some more whiteboard space. So I'm going to stop, I'm going to change what I have up here, and then I'm going to pick it back up.